Hi folks, if you're watching, I'm starting another live simultaneously, as I always do, and I don't know why that was such a pain. Cuss. Okay. Alright, whatever. We'll see if anybody jumps on. Yeah, so I'm going to just erase this one since it got so screwed up at the beginning. I don't believe that. Welcome to TikTok Live. So I'm on TikTok over there, which I don't usually do. And I'm on the YouTube over here. Hello, one person who jumped in. We usually don't do the vertical videos, so we're squished in together. Welcome. Hi, welcome. I'm Christopher.
I'm Angela.
We're the Dinosaur Omelet. And tonight's live, we're actually talking about how to interpret your chicken's body language. So why are we doing a chicken video? If you're new here, if you haven't been around, we are a small homestead. Oh, it's Steve. Hey, man, what's going on? Thanks for stopping in here. Always great to see your videos. Thanks. Yeah, so we're doing TikTok and, Steve, we're all doing the YouTube at the same time. So we're going back and forth. And tonight we watch and learn. Yeah, well, we're trying to teach useful stuff. So people on TikTok, if you're new, our objective here is education, giving you usable utilitarian information so you can raise your critters and have a happy little homestead, farm, farmette, whatever you're doing. If you have questions or comments, anybody on any of these videos, drop them in the comments section. We do try to get to them. Now, a little bit about us for the new people. Would you like to tell these new people?
We are a small hatchery in southern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and we encourage people to be more self-sufficient, to learn skills that betters your quality of life, learning things about food making and animal raising, and yeah, that sort of thing.
Animal husbandry or animal wifery. Little joke. Okay, yeah, so we're a small homestead, and we are the Dinosaur Omelet. So, YouTube people, I am very sorry. Like, I had this thing scheduled, and I was trying to do a vertical video. It got canceled, so I had to reset it. So, all my description stuff I'll have to add later. Oh, here you go. So, people are joining over there. But if you check out our videos and stuff, I have a ton of really good educational PDF. I always tell people to check that out. It's free. You just click on the links on our YouTube descriptions in our live videos, and there's a ton of really good turnkey kind of information because people do not want to invest hours of time learning stuff. This is a longer format kind of presentation we do with these lives because we like to get interaction. And there's Madison Hank. What's up? Was that nice girl you met the other day?
I don't
think
think so.
Girls? No? So yeah, we do a lot of longer format stuff on the on these live videos to get you guys interacting and get your questions if you have any. And particularly tonight's subject about chicken body language seems kind of peculiar. Is chicken body language important?
Of course.
Of course.
Well, if you have chickens, yeah, any animal that you're taking care of and tending to and that depend on you, it's good to know their language.
This is true. Every creature behaves in certain ways, and they have what do you call it? Behaviors and mannerisms that if you... No, we're not going to co-host. Somebody's asked to co-host. So they have behaviors and mannerisms that are very beneficial to if you understand them. Especially newer people. Madison Hinky, you are pretty. Well, thank you. Are they talking to me? I guess. I don't know. Just kidding. So, thank you. Yeah, so the body language of the animal is important for you to understand when you're interacting with these creatures, especially with newer homesteaders, which there are quite a few post-COVID. A lot of people went wacky and they bought homesteads or little farmettes, and they got a whole bunch of animals, and it's been a learning process, okay? But the good thing about a learning process is that it's incremental. You're not going to know everything all at once. It's okay to screw up. It's okay to fail. I mean, that's the whole process. So we keep learning until the information sinks in and we become successful. That does not happen overnight with anything, even with chickens.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So before we get started, last thing, again, if you have questions, type them in there. We get a lot of people yapping down here. I'm actually cooking a curry chicken for dinner tonight. Oh, very good. I bet that chicken displayed some behavior prior to his processing. That said, hey, yeah, we do meat chickens. We actually have a couple videos on there for, what do you call it? For our What were those damn chickens
The
called?
Cornish cross.
Cornish cross.
The broilers.
I have this ADHD brain. I forget half of everything that goes in there, and then I'll retain it. So yeah, we do have some videos about our cooking chickens. And Carolyn De Silva says, "Hey, oh, that's your friend. Hey, you look great. Oh, thank you. Thanks for stopping in." So we're talking about. Let's segue into this. How to interpret chicken body language. Like we discussed, it is important to understand the behaviors and mannerisms of your animals because that's how they communicate, right?
Yeah.
All right.
And then you can know if they're happy, if they're stressed, if they're in need of something. Yeah.
Right. What is the channel about? I'm new here. Free samples. I suspect they give away free samples. We're a small homesteading channel and we focus on education and information about that endeavor. On our lives anyway. And then we have other videos. So understanding chicken body language is a valuable skill for poultry owners, whether they're hobbyists, small-scale farmers, or the larger industrial application or backyard guys. Chickens express their mood, their health. I took notes. I always take notes. And their social standing or the hierarchy through their behaviors. Okay? So these chickens, some animals have vocalizations or complex vocalizations. So the chicken does mostly what? Behaviors?
Vocalizations, but also body posture,
Body posture.
the way they position themselves.
And we're going to go over that good stuff. I'm enjoying the dinner currently and a salad. Home-raised quail eggs. Oh, awesome, Steve.
And then we have Wish I Had a Small Farm or Homestead, but started with egg
layers
layers
and
chickens a couple years prior to.
Oh, that's awesome, Ozzy. Hey, man, whatever you're doing, like I tell people, even in an apartment, grow a damn tomato in a bucket.
Yeah.
You know? It's that whole nurturing kind of endeavor, which is really the rewarding aspect of what you're doing. And the other thing, too, before I go into this, because he mentioned something very important, don't compare yourself to anybody else. You know, it's that internet syndrome. You look at the...
I'm trying to figure out how to
squish in here. We're using two cameras.
Screens.
We try to compare ourselves to an external to base our, progress. That's kind of flawed because everybody's different. They're at different places. So wishing you have a homestead. I mean, there's stuff I wish I had, but then I realize what I do have and, try to forward progress toward getting my future goals while maintaining the stuff I currently have. Not to be too preachy. All right, anyway. So we're going to go into body language cues. She knows a lot about chickens. So Angela raises designer silky chickens, like the Lamborghinis of chickens. Wait, people still refer to them? What's the car people talk about? Lamborghini. I'm from the 80s.
I don't know.
So, like the... what do you call it? Bugatti of chickens, right? She raises really nice silky chickens, and you handle them daily, and they communicate through their behaviors, and they show their condition through their behaviors. So we're going to talk about, she's going to talk about, because I talk too much, body language cues for mood and emotional state. And somebody said down here, rapid repeating burps with some forward to back head movement can be a sign. I'm trying to read these notes off of here.
Try reading louder too, because people are listening.
Like burk and rapid repeating burps with some forward to back head movement can be a sign of I'm just chilling, dude, so don't get too close. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes, especially with the male roosters. So my lovely wife Angela is going to take over here. Body language cues and mood for emotional state. What are we talking about?
Yeah, so to start, just like a happy, healthy, relaxed chicken. And I'm not really going to talk about, I'm talking more like a general sense. Some breeds are different than others, but in a general sense, if their feathers are just, relaxed and not like tight against their body or super fluffed, but just like a normal looking relaxed state, then that's showing relaxation.
How can you determine your chicken's relaxed? Like, what are they showing?
Well, they won't be...
Obviously, they're not going to be acting distressed.
Yeah, they're not going to be moving around quickly. They're just going to be slow moving, exploring.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and that's what if you want to
go
say
ahead.
stuff. You're out of the screen.
I'm out of the screen.
Yeah. So just so you guys know, the YouTube screen is cutting Christopher off, and then the TikTok screen is cutting me off. So we're
So
like,
we're squished together.
it's
Yeah.
funny looking.
So yes, when they're relaxed, obviously, like intuitively, they're not going to be showing the signs of distress.
They're very mellow, and they'll just
So they're milling about.
Yeah, they'll be slowly moving and pecking the ground, or if they're laying down, they'll just be in a relaxed state.
And their vocalizations while they're relaxed.
Yeah, they will be making some like low sounding clucks. And
How do I know if my chicken's relaxed or sick? Because when they're ill, they are lethargic too, right?
yes, when they're ill, they're going to be isolating. They're going to be tired, and they won't be moving around too much. They're going to be conserving their energy and generally be sitting in one area. They might be like hunched like this, and their feathers might be fluffed, and they'll have an uncomfortable look to them. They might be tired looking. Their eyes may not be open and bright. They might be even closed, or they might even feel kind of colder to the touch.
Co-occurring symptoms.
And just not interested so much in socializing or acting like the other birds. Yes, those are like illness things.
Stuff. I was just trying to let you guys know, especially new to chicken people, lethargy, if the chicken is just kind of... So you're going to notice a group of chickens, and I've seen this recently. So you're going to see a group of chickens pecking, milling about. They're not distressed. There's no predators around. They're not being alerted to anything. And they're, like she said, they're just doing community chicken stuff, pecking about. And then you see one guy who's just kind of sitting there, not doing anything. That doesn't mean he's necessarily ill or anything. He could just be taking a dust bath, relaxing. But
well, there's definitely key behavior to show what a dust bath would look like, and
they're ruffling their feathers in the dust, right?
yeah, but the illness may not. A chicken may be ill or hurt, and they might not be showing the signs that I just said. Some ailments or injuries. If it's some birds might have like a swollen respiratory illness or something, swollen eye. So you'll see visual, things that look off, but they might still be eating and energetic, or they might be limping, or if it's like they have water in their belly type of thing, they might be acting normal, but you touch them and you feel there's a difference in the body.
Oh, yeah, you can feel them. You can switch over a little more. Now, regarding mood and emotional state, and this one, maybe you guys have seen if you have birds, which I always deal with. We have one chicken who does this, the squatting or crouching down. So I go to pick up the chicken and pretend I'm the chicken. Somebody's picking me up. As soon as I go to pick up chicken, she's like...
Or even approach the chicken.
Now, is the chicken scared?
So the behavior he's saying is it squats to the ground really quick, and they kind of, and this is the hen behavior, they'll stick their wings out kind of a little bit. And this particularly happens when there's not a rooster present, because that's a posture. Well, they'll do it when a rooster is approaching them too, but they'll do it to a human when there's not a rooster present. And it's a submissive behavior. When a rooster is approaching them, they'll go into that position, and the rooster will jump up on their back and do his business, and it'll make it easier for the hen, prevent possible damage to her if she's sitting in a stable position for him to jump up on her. And it's also submitting to him, but she may do it to you if you don't have a rooster, and she's submitting to you and acknowledging that you are the leader of the flock.
Yeah, so if you guys are unfamiliar and you go to pick up a chicken and it does this thing, you're like, oh my God.
And it won't move.
Am I scaring the birds? Well, no, that's like a biological reaction, really.
Yeah.
Right? They're just showing their submission to who's there. Not that they're weak and they're submissive,
And
but
if
it's a biological...
you can take your hand and ruffle her back and like just pretend like there's a weight on her, and then she'll think, oh, things are happening, and then stop, and then she'll like fluff up and be like, that happened, and then she'll be happy.
And run off and go back to being a chicken.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Ooh, here's a good one. All right. please talk about.
Oh wait, let me mention real quick. So you had mentioned dust bathing. So chickens, because that was in the beginning here. Chickens and poultry, they like to dust bathe, and what they're doing is with a loose type of material, whether it's sand, bedding, dirt, whatever they have available, they will lay in it and they'll kick sand and dirt up under their wings and just like all throughout their feathers and stuff, and it helps to stave off like parasites, and it can help them to cool themselves if it's really hot too.
Cleans off dust, that feather dust.
Yeah, and then they'll shake it all off, and then also they enjoy sunning themselves. The birds do, so they might go into a sunny spot and you'll see them lay on their side and stretch their wing out and their leg out, and it looks kind of comical, but they'll just sit there and sun. There's nothing wrong, they're just enjoying the sun for a couple minutes. So you're
cool. All right, so that was squatting. Chicken is getting ready to have a male chicken come up to make baby chickens, but they'll do it to humans too. It's a submissive posture.
Yeah.
All right, so blah, blah, blah. We're talking about, okay, health and wellness indicators. So we talked about, I'm trying to follow my notes because I like to stay organized for you guys. So we talked about that one lone chicken who looks really calm, is not milling about with the other guys. He might be sick. So signs of illness or discomfort. If you have chickens, especially if you got a bunch of them and you have them for a while, eventually you're going to deal with an ill bird. Not necessarily deathly ill or it's going to expire, but it's not uncommon to see illness come about. Was this correct?
Mm-hmm.
No. So they're outside, they're exposed to the elements, they're exposed to the soil, the ground, which has organisms in it, which they should be acclimated to, and they're exposed to other birds, wild birds coming into their area, transporting pathogens, right? So your chickens do get sick. It's not because you're negligent and you're doing a bad job. It's because it's the environment, okay? Environmental things can happen, stressors, just like humans. When human gets stressed, what happens? Immune system
gets suppressed.
Yeah, same with chickens. So if a chicken's under constant stress, like there's predators coming around all the time, insufficient nutrients in their diet, hierarchical, whatever, the pecking order, constant stress between birds that are fighting. This can cause a stress. This can impact their immune ability, can suppress their immune somewhat. And the pathogens present in the environment can instigate an infection where they become sick. That's bad. We don't like that. Mm-hmm. So what are the signs that your beloved chicken is becoming ill, Angela? I think my chicken's ill. What's going on here? What should I look for?
Oh, we kind of already talked about that in the beginning.
Well, I just did this huge lead into
I know,
that.
but I did.
Again.
We should talk about this stuff here too.
Yeah. Okay. Also with illness, I want to talk about the illness like with respiratory issues, because that's the most common, really.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I mean, sure. Depends.
So respiratory illness is common in chickens. It's common in chickens.
Common in birds.
Oh, well, birds, yeah. It's common in... one of the things that's going to promote the respiratory illness with the birds, we talk about this all the time on this channel when we do these lives, is a dirty hutch or dirty coop, poor ventilation, right? And if you're using a heater in the winter, I know people go nuts about this, but with the cold air, back to hot air, back to cold air, back to cold air, it can shock their system, and that can help instigate a respiratory illness in the bird. So that's what we do say, try to avoid that.
Yeah.
But yeah, with respiratory illnesses, you're going to see, what are the signs of bird respiratory illness for new people?
Well, there's different types. It could just be sneezing. That could be just stress. It could cause a sneeze. It could be a minor sneeze, or it could continue. They might get swollen, an eye that's swollen. They may, that's like, those are pretty common.
Swollen eyes, leaky eyes,
Yeah, no.
discoloration,
Yeah.
and what about the waddle?
I think
and
that's
the
more, I mean, I think it can with respiratory, but that may also be like internal things going on, like maybe infection or organs, stuff going on with organs.
We're not vets. This is not veterinary advice. Talk to your vet if your chicken is sick. But there are signs, the signs of illness are pretty pretty common. I mean, at least
Their
they're,
energy will change for sure.
they're recognizable intuitively. You're going to see a bird acting differently than everybody else, looking sickly. If you throw some kittens in there for the hens to adopt and raise the kittens and grow up, protections for the hens, like a man protects his mom.
Yeah, I heard people
I've
do
seen
that.
similar stuff. That's
Yeah,
neat.
yeah, cats are pretty.
And this is Steven. A dark orange egg yolk is more tasty than a pale yellow yolk.
Yeah.
I tend to agree. They're more nutrient dense. You know, we do a lot of. I don't know if you've been here before or been into our talks, but we've done videos on feed nutrition, bird nutrition. We make a feed. We did a lot of research mixing feeds and figuring out what works for the chicken. And yeah, absolutely, transfer of nutrients into the yolk of the egg. Yeah, you're going to experience that in a more nutrient dense feed. You know, when you're dealing with an industrial setting where you're just producing eggs by the trillion and you got a whole billions of chickens in there, that's an efficiency setup. So we're not feeding them the best stuff at all times. That's not the objective there. The objective is the production of eggs, not exactly tasty whole eggs. So like when you have your own pet chickens out on the farm, hopefully they're free ranging and eating an abundance of stuff to produce those keratin-rich deep red eggs with lots of vitamins, minerals, and omegas. What were you about to say?
I was gonna go through
Signs of anxiety.
anxiety or fear. Yeah, so they will, if they're, let's say if you pick up a chicken all of a sudden and maybe move it quickly, or it's just not anticipating being picked up and moved, or just something scares them, then they might raise their hackles around their neck. Their feathers might raise them up to make them look bigger. And
Oh, look, he said, I was just passing by and your subject was interesting.
Oh.
Well, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging in.
Yeah. And if it's just the fact that they're just startled, then they'll calm down and their hackles will go back down.
So what are the hackles?
The feathers around their neck. It's kind of like, you know, like a dog has the neck feathers.
I know what they are. It's chicken
Yeah.
class. It's for everybody here.
Yeah. And yeah, so they'll put them back down. But if they're doing it because they feel threatened or they're being challenged by another bird, another flock mate, then they'll keep their hackles up to stay looking bigger.
Another thing about anxiety, now this isn't really a behavior as much as it is their output. So if they're under constant stressor, we always talk about predators, and they're going to stop laying perhaps because of you might have predators at night coming around. And I like to mention it this time of year because it's winter, it's getting into fall winter, and the predator's behavior for feeding is changing, and they're going to start looking around in different places, and they're going to have a new stressor introduced in the fall. You might have raccoon or possum or hippo or whatever comes around in your neighborhood to get eggs. So you may notice your chicken's acting stress or their behavior kind of peculiar that you're not used to. You want to make sure it's not predator, and at least make sure that the coop is predator proof. I just always like to throw that out there. That's true.
Yeah, yeah. Also, if they're milling about doing their normal day activity and all of a sudden they hear a really loud noise or something that they're not sure of what the source is, causes some sort of, they're scared. Somebody gets scared in the flock, but they're not sure what it is. They may startle and fly and try and get to a place where they can hide, but also when they're unsure, they'll like go down to the ground and freeze. And
Flattening their bodies.
they'll just like kind of wait to see if they hear or see something that was the cause.
So why is a chicken flattening his body? Anybody? Anybody at home know? It's an easy one. Well, think about it. They're looking tinier.
Yeah.
They're hiding their profile from the potential predator out there, just like we would do. So, oh my gosh, somebody's coming. So we instinctively get smaller to hide our profile, and animals do that. Chickens do it, birds do it.
Yeah, so if there's a suspicion that something in the sky is a threat, they'll be looking up at whatever the bird, predator of prey is in the sky. They will probably be vocalizing at that point to make the rest of the flock aware there's danger. They can get quite noisy when alerting to a predator in the sky.
Is it true? Will a rooster protect the other hens when a predator comes in?
If he's a good rooster.
If he's a good rooster, so you can
Not all roosters.
cowardly roosters will hide in fear. Tough guy roosters.
Some
will...
roosters are very paranoid and will alert the flock, all the ladies, when a big scary butterfly flutters into the area, and that's just really, depends on the dude, but the hens tend to ignore him when he does that. But so roosters, they're always more alert. They're looking, that's part of their job. Their instinct is to be the eyes for the hen in the flock, to let them know what's going on. So they'll be looking around while they're doing their daily routine, and they will vocalize certain signals to the hens to let them know when there's danger. And some of them will throw themselves, at a predator or danger to protect their ladies.
Quite right. Awesome stuff. All right, we did signs of anxiety, raised hackles, flattening to the ground, bobbing heads, moving heads around, looking around, being hyper alert, hyper vigilant. All right, and now I guess excitement, curiosity. Should we even talk about that? I guess so.
Yeah,
that's pretty common.
Yeah.
Signs of excitement in your chicken. This is a positive thing. Curiosity. What's going on?
Yeah, their tail will be more upright. They'll kind of be standing more upright and making clucking noises and exploring. Maybe through some snacks in their area that are new to them, or just something that they're checking out. They're going to be like more assertive and in their curious state. They'll be more assertive in approaching whatever it is. And usually they're making soft little clucking noises.
All right, I think that's cool. Now, body language cues related. Oh, this is a good one. You love talking about this. The pecking order. This is the social hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
Would you like to discuss this since you're the chicken expert?
Yeah, so...
I know chickens, but she's very involved with her chickens.
When you have, let's say you have an established flock of mature birds, and you're going to add new members, and they're still in the adolescent age. They're not quite mature yet, so they're not laying eggs yet. They're not mature yet, but they're close in size to your mature birds. They're not going to have the mentality as a mature bird. They're still going to be functioning in that like juvenile state. So they're going to naturally they'll go to the bottom of the hierarchy within the flock. The existing members will, so the hierarchy is something that can change pretty regularly depending on the flock. So it could be something where maybe it's pretty established and everybody has their place, or you might have a couple personalities that just aren't happy with where they're at if it's not close to the top. So they'll continue to kind of challenge and move up.
How often does that happen?
It just depends on the age of the birds, the temperaments, personalities. If they're all pretty kind of mellow, then it's not going to happen much. Some hens can be more dominant. If you have a couple dominant hens in your flock, then they're going to be, challenging
I have a good question. Are they like people, like when they're teenagers, they're more aggressive and they want to pick more fights?
When they're teenagers, no. Teenagers, they're going to be acting like juveniles. And
all right, so young adult?
It's, no. If they're not mature, then they are going to have a juvenile mentality, and they won't necessarily challenge other birds. They will, the other birds are going to approach them and assert their dominance.
Okay, pause 1 second. Humans, not chickens, humans over there on the TikTok land and YouTube land. If you have a question, drop them down in comments. I do like hearing your special questions pertaining to chickens and stuff, not some whack-ball question. But, well, if you have a question about homesteading or these animals.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So hierarchy behaviors.
So what the juveniles or the non-mature birds will do is they will put their head down. So when other birds are approaching them, they're going to put their head down. They're going to avoid eye contact. They're going to kind of be like running around with their head lower because they are avoiding eye contact. They're avoiding dominant behavior. They're trying to look smaller. Don't notice me. And they're going to be scooting away, like running away. To just kind of get away from everyone. So it's good to have plenty of space when you're doing this. The birds that are approaching them, if they're, you know, like if let's say your flock, there's no like crazy temperaments, like everyone's kind of pretty mellow. There's nobody there that's super dominant or a concern as far as bullying. In that situation, the other flock mates, hens, they will go, depending on where they are in the hierarchy, they're going to, the more dominant ones will go over to these newer birds, and they will stick their chest out. It looks really funny, especially with the silkies. They just look, because they're normally in this like very pretty, you know, like petite looking position, and then they look kind of like sumo wrestlers. They just like with their chests and their heads back, and they're trying to look just super dominant, and then they will walk up to the new one and they will like stare at them. They just like staring. And the juvenile ones, they'll just be like, oh, don't look at me, don't look at me. And their heads will be down. And the dominant one, she'll be like, are you gonna challenge me?
Oh, the
Do
funny
you know
thing-
where you are in this hierarchy? And they might peck them to be like, to ensure there's an understanding. Sometimes it's a couple pecks. Sometimes the juveniles will flee and then they'll get chased. And then there's a couple more pecks. And then usually like they just settle down.
I was going to say, I find it funny because she's talking about the silky chickens, and they're like fragile cotton balls who are acting tough. So they become tough guys.
Now, if you have birds that are mature and they are ready to, sorry, it's just so,
I gotta fix that.
And they are ready to assert themselves in the hierarchy right away, or at any point, you know, if they've been there a while or not, they're going to also stare down the bird that approaches them. They're going to stare down. So you're going to have two birds staring at each other, frozen. And it's kind of like whoever backs down is the submitting one. So if
back down.
If neither one backs down, then it's going to escalate. So until somebody backs down. And then with the silkies anyway, then they're both with their chests forward, their heads back, because they also want to kind of protect their heads a little bit, because chickens, they go for their heads with the pecking.
They're going to protect their eyes.
Yeah. So they'll lean back with their heads and they'll have their chest forward, and then they will literally chest bump. It looks so funny. They'll chest bump, and if there's still nobody backing down, then it's going to escalate. And usually what happens is somebody's going to grab somebody's head, feathers, and hold on to the feathers, and they're going to be flopping around, trying to get loose, and they're going to keep doing this until somebody backs down.
Which is fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, a wonder of nature. So like in nature, same species animals anyway, they don't kill each other.
Yeah.
They pretend like they're going to. They posture like they're going to.
Because they want to protect themselves.
And they want to protect
ultimately.
their genetic similar species, the same animal. You know, like humans.
Yeah.
Humans do the same thing. Man, I'm going to F you up. No, man, I'm going to F you up. Back up. They're tough, right? But they're not actually going to go one another. They're going to pretend like they're doing. They're posturing. Chickens do the same thing without speaking.
So at some point, somebody's going to submit. Usually what that looks like is she runs. She hightails it, you know, the other direction. And then the one that's like, I won, she's going to chase after and maybe peck once or twice. That's normal. And then it stops. Like the squabble stops. And then the hierarchy is getting established. Now, if there are personalities that are not balanced, then this process could be more rough and may need intervention, or you may need to take more steps in the introduction of new birds, or create more space for existing birds. it just depends on the personalities that you have. If there's somebody who's just not leaving things settle and maybe becoming a bully, you know, you may need to move that bird to a new area.
That's actually what I was going to talk about. So he's talking about these different body mechanics and their behaviors that hopefully you recognize, and really, like with practice, you begin to understand what they're communicating. If you have these animals, like anybody with animals, they begin to understand what they're communicating because you're just around them. So you begin to understand what they're saying. The same with the chickens. So if you're new to chickens, take some time, observe them, and you're going to begin to understand what they're trying to say. And there's, you know, they're not geniuses. They're chickens. There's not too much in their language. It's behavior this, behavior that, a handful of behaviors. But with the aggression, how do we mitigate that? We talked about, because this is we did videos about this. So I got a bad chicken. He's aggressive. He's too aggressive. I don't like this because he's being too aggressive. Can I stop that? Like removing him from the flock for a while?
Oh, you can do that to reset the hierarchy.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting at, the reset of the hierarchy.
It really depends on the personality. That's definitely something that I would recommend doing. Remove the bird entirely from the area if it's just becoming a problem and upsetting the whole flock. Remove it. I would, you know, for a week, just to kind of like really let the flock re-establish the hierarchy without that bird. And then when you do bring it back, it's going to be at the bottom. So it's the behavior is going to be a lot different.
Yeah, well, it's sometimes it's an issue. People get an aggressive bird. They're like, well, how do I do that? Do I just swat at them?
Yeah, no, that doesn't do anything. Yeah, so there are different things. When there's like, maybe there's a rooster that is a problem, that can be challenging. As far as maybe, sometimes people have roosters that are aggressive toward humans. And then that's something, if you pick the rooster, there's different things that you can do to assert your dominance over the rooster so that he understands that you are the flock leader. But it could be difficult to make sure that that's understood with other humans.
And you could just have an aggressive rooster.
Yeah.
So if you're into the chickens and you're talking to your friends on the Facebook and their chicken groups, you're going to find people always want to give away some bad rooster because that behavior is not coming out of it.
It's worth having a good rooster, like with a good temperament, because it's not, you know, you want to enjoy him. And he also affects the energy of the flock.
Yeah, especially if you guys have kids, like the little kids. Most everybody, if they grew up with chickens, have some horrible trauma experience with a rooster attacking them at some point, or a goose, or some large bird, because they're aggressive. So, but you don't want the children to get injured by a rooster. I mean, they can injure them with scratching. And you don't want the kids to be turned off and scared of the animals.
Yeah.
So you really, especially with kids, make sure you invest in finding a competent quality rooster with a good temperament. And Stephen said, I recommend removing a problem chicken
to the curry pot.
Oh, that's a good
This
idea.
actually spreads through the flock like a rumor, and suddenly they all want to behave. Yeah, there are wonderful roosters. There's a lot of roosters they make great chickens.
I like his idea.
But yes.
Bad guys, throw them in the pot.
Now,
we've done that.
I do want to mention there are more mild ways that you might witness your chickens. Usually it's the hens, because the rooster's the rooster. Like, there's not a whole bunch of roosters. There's a bunch of hens. And you may see hens reestablishing their dominance just simply by doing the eye stare. You might see them, you know, two come up to each other and suddenly they're staring and nobody's moving, and they're figuring out who's going to submit, and one might be like, okay, and then she'll go off, and then that was a submit to a dominant. Altercation, very mellow, easygoing, and then they go about their business. So it's not often that they're going to, in an established flock, that you're going to see any kind of like energetic reestablishment. Usually that just kind of happens when there's a new bird added. Also, roosters, at least for the silkies and some bantams, small miniature birds, miniature chickens, the roosters,
bantams.
yeah.
So, that's a word. Somebody might not know what
Yeah,
that
that's
is.
like miniature chicken.
A bantam is a smaller version of
They're like half the size or smaller than a standard layer breed. And the roosters, sometimes people get confused about behavior with the silky roosters in particular, but I've seen other bantam roosters do it. They will, once you release them from the coop in the morning, they'll run to their ladies like their wings are out and they're looking big and kind of intimidating, and they kind of like hunch their head down, and they're just like, they're in this sprinter like movement posture. They're the wings out and they're like sprinting and running to the hens and chasing them down. Sometimes the hens are unprepared for this behavior and they make a startled sound, and then they'll start running. And he chases them down and he'll peck them, and then she'll squawk, and then he'll be like, okay, I got you. That was, an awesome moment of flirtation. So then he's going to go and start chasing down another hen until he catches up to her and pecks her, and she squawks. And some of them run, like, try to evade him at all costs, but he just wants to peck them once and say, you're hot stuff, lady. And that's all that's happening. He's just flirting. There are roosters that they'll do that to humans. They will they'll run down the ramp, or they'll see you and they'll be like, oh my gosh, you are some hot stuff. And they'll run to your legs with their wings out, and they'll peck your leg once, or maybe twice, but usually just once. And then he might do the rooster dance around you, and he's like, I like you. So that's not an aggressive thing. That's a, hey, I like you kind of thing. Now it's totally different if you see a rooster coming toward you. Usually it's like a sneak attack. They're so cowardly. The roosters who are not nice and they're showing some sort of aggression toward you, they'll either charge after you, they'll just jump up with their legs up because they have spurs, and they'll kind of like karate, like hit you with their feet.
They're like the Velociraptor from Jurassic Park.
And they'll just hit you.
They'll hunt you down and then jump on you.
And that's not okay.
Good.
That's disrespectful. Or they are like, oh.
That's when they goes into the cooking pot.
Yeah. Or they'll be like, oh, I'm not doing anything. Peck here, peck there. And they're kind of like keeping an eye on you, but they're not focusing on you. And you're like, oh, everything's fine. And then you turn around and suddenly you're bum, 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 bum. And then they're flying, hitting you at the back of your legs. That's not okay. That's bad behavior. That's dominance and disrespect.
And that's when they get cooked.
Yes. Yeah, they should not be doing that to humans.
Yeah.
A good rooster, he'll be acting friendly and just like the hens.
Yeah, so short version, get a quality rooster, like a good temperament rooster, especially if you got little kids. You don't want them getting scared of the rooster.
Right. And you do have to pay attention as well to personalities within your hens. There are some larger, like standard layer breeds. Chickens can get kind of big when you have a toddler near them. They can be similar in size. So if you have little children, just make sure you're aware of the personality types in the flock, because if there are larger hens that are quite dominant, if they see a child that's similar in size to them, they may try to assert their dominance with a child. So, and that's not good. That would be too dominant of a hen if you have children. They shouldn't be challenging a child. And they're going to do the whole like raising up their head and staring at them. They might, look like they're going to peck. That's too dominant for children. So, and that's not like a normal thing. Most of the hens are generally calm, relaxed, and enjoyable.
What's an aggressive breed?
There's there are quite a few that are aggressive, but I don't think they're commonly kept for eggs.
And then you have this. Oh well. Anyway, I'm gonna go on a tangent.
But there can be bad temperaments within any breed, just because of poor breeding or genetics
Yeah.
in that bird, that specific bird.
Yeah,
So
I
you just
don't-
have to.
The breeding.
to know them.
So we're gonna probably wrap up soon. But breeding's important. You got hatcheries. You got breeders and competent breeders. So if you're getting chickens and you really want something decent, go to a competent breeder. We've done a bunch of videos on that, like, knowing how to breed, what breeding is. It's not reproducing chickens. Reproducing chickens is fairly simple. Breeding's complex and it takes time, and you have a goal and you have objectives and you're trying to produce whatever it is attribute in your breeding program, which in this case we're talking about is good-tempered animals, productive chickens with a good temper. Not just pretty, but aggressive. Because people get a really good-looking chicken and it's got a worthless attitude.
Temperament, yeah, that can pass along.
So what's the point? Like, I got this chicken I hate. It's really pretty, but I don't want to go near it because it's aggressive and doesn't like to be near humans. So that's a bad chicken. We don't like that. So know what your goals are, like we always say. Have objectives. Plan first before doing an impulsive chicken off the internet purchase. All right, and I guess that's that.
And watch your chickens as you're taking care of them. Whenever you go to give them some food or check on them or put them away or let them out, watch them and see what they do, so you can see what's normal, what they regularly do, how they behave with each other, with you. To stimulus, maybe there's a dog or something nearby. You can see how they're acting and become familiar. So then when something is not normal, or if somebody's sick, you're familiar with how they act. So that's always good to do.
Right on. All right. I think that just about does it. That's 45 minutes of yapping on chickens. Mr. Steve over on YouTube, thanks a million for your questions. Certainly do appreciate it. And you had good comments. And I agree with the chicken in a pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely throw them in a pot. All right, you guys. Thanks for stopping in. If you're new here, actually, who are these people? The TikTok people. TikTok people, hi. There's not a lot of you. But if you like, we do usual stuff on the YouTube. So go over there and check us out. YouTube people, I love you. Thanks for stopping by. Do you have any last words?
No. Yeah, I hope that was interesting. Let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, and if you have any suggestions for an actual chit-chat video, something you want to learn, let us know. We've been doing this for 4 years or so now, all the time, like full-time, raising critters. And we have a lot of knowledge, and lucky you, it's all free and fun. Yay! All right, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.